Have you ever felt that you're getting things done and you're reaching your goals, and other people even look at you and they think, wow, she's doing so amazingly well? And so, why do you still feel like you're behind? Well, that's this episode. You're accomplishing a lot, so why do you still feel behind? And this is something I often see in high achieving women. Sadly, they're successful on paper, but they don't always feel successful. And I'm not going to fully get into the like successful and satisfied piece. I want to focus mainly on not feeling successful, even though you are, right? So they reach one goal and then almost immediately they start focusing on the next one. And there's very little time in between to enjoy what they've created before they move the finish line again. This reminds me of one of my previous episodes years and years back where I talked about the motivation mountain. So we'll make sure that we link that so that you can listen to that as well. So, how have I had an experience with this? Well, I had a very meaningful milestone. We won a podcast award. We were in the top 50 podcasters. And that year, we were number 17 out of 50. And rather than saying, wow, this is amazing, we won this podcast award, I was like, how do I get closer to number one? And how do I increase my downloads? And how do I increase my subscribers and my listen rates and all that stuff? Because, well, yes, the achievement mattered, but my mind was already focusing on like what could be improved or what needed to happen next. But I didn't even let that accomplishment land, sadly. A lot of times, right, we're looking at all the things we did wrong, or we're jumping ahead to all of the things that we want to accomplish next because that didn't like satisfy the itch, I guess, or for some reason or another, we think we need to do more. And this is what I see in so many women. Friends of mine who are successful, clients of mine who are successful, women in my CAPS community, Canadian Association of Professional Speakers, so many different places. And many of these women, they come into coaching or into my circles already accomplishing a lot. And they don't necessarily like need someone to push them harder. They really just need a place to step back, see what they've already built. And that having that perspective outside the noise, either in your head of like, do more, do the better, do the next thing, or the noise of the business and the responsibilities and the clients and everyone else who needs them, needs you. And they need honest conversations about whether their success actually feels satisfying. So it's kind of one of the only times I'm going to bring this satisfying piece in. Even reminds me of when I did my dynamic year program with a couple of other coaches so that I could go through the process and that I could be held accountable. And it's really interesting because the year after, so my daughter would have been like almost, no, she would have been 13 months when we went through this process. And I said to them, I actually didn't accomplish that much this year. And they said, are you kidding me, Diane? You had a baby, you breastfed the baby, you kept the baby alive, you like took care of the house, you still ran your business. There's so many things that you did. You made mom friends. You went hiking with them a lot. You brought your daughter to a lot of like baby and me things. So there were so many things, but I just was like, oh, well, I was going to do that anyway. Almost like the process of making a baby and having a baby it wasn't a big deal because somehow or another I would have had the baby, right? That's what happens. 9 months and the baby comes out. And I just thought it was normal. I didn't actually see that as a success because of the hundreds of millions of women who have gone before me and done it. And that kind of sad. And it's not just me. I can remember a time when I had a client who who had been in business for a long time. And she looked really successful from the outside because she was. But privately, she kept feeling like, I need more training. I need more certifications. I can't run my own workshop until I do these more and more and more things. And she kept focusing on what is missing rather than what is working in her business and all of the knowledge she already had. I had had sessions with her as well, and I knew she was amazing. And then her being coached, though, she started to see that she wasn't actually behind. She started to see how she was already ready to deliver those workshops. She didn't need these other certifications to give her permission. She really just needed to give herself permission. She needed to acknowledge her own progress. She needed to decide what she wanted success to look like and feel like going forward. And she did, to her relief. And then another client of mine, she was newer in her business, but she kept measuring herself against someone else's timeline, someone else's success. And I think it was the last episode I mentioned this and how my coach said, how can you, when if you have these young kids, how can you compare yourself where you are with your limited amount of hours, like 20 hours a week? How can you build an empire on part-time hours? And I was like, right, you're so right. And so for her, she saw other women growing their business faster, launching more, putting out programs, their website done, beautiful business cards, and everything made her feel like everyone else was further ahead. But being part of a group, when I was coaching her and the other ladies, she started to see, oh wow, everyone's in like a different season. And everyone else has a different pace that they run at. And even if you think of it, like my son, he's a sprinter. That's what he does. And so when they asked him to run the 1500 at track, I was like, why? Why? That's not his pace. He doesn't do that. And then his friend will run the 1500 and is not very good at the 100, right? So it depends the pace you want to go at, and it depends what you're capable of as to what your output's going to be. So rather than her feeling like she needed to do everything at once, make the website, have all the marketing materials, do workshops, have programs, write a book, get a podcast, like all the things which happen over years and years of time, especially if you're doing it yourself. She became so much clearer about, okay, these are the steps that I need to put in place in my plan. I can ignore everyone else rather than like chasing someone else's version. So she started to create the life and the business that she wanted, not the one that she thought she needed to have. And while I said, like, I won't talk about the satisfaction piece, I'm going to go into a little bit more around this is the connection to chasing my one woman show. These are the big ideas behind it, right? Like, what happens when success doesn't feel like the way we thought it would? Like the client I worked with, who him and his two friends sold a business for 75 million, his cut was 25 million, and he wasn't happy. So what happens when we keep believing that that next achievement will finally make us feel satisfied? See, goals aren't the problem. Goals are amazing. Goals help to push us forward, pull us forward, whatever you want to say, reach our dreams, all of that stuff. And achievement isn't the problem either. The problem is that we keep chasing other things. We want to do more and be more and have more. And maybe we feel that pressure from other people outside of us, society, maybe feel that pressure inside by the saboteurs pushing us forward. But we don't stop long enough to ask, is this the life that I actually want to live? Because you are creating that life. And so the life you're creating, is that the one you actually want? I can remember a client of mine saying, the next step for me is to get a promotion at work, but I actually want to quit my job, be a stay-at-home mom, and do crafts and make grilled cheese sandwiches. And I said, then do that. If your family can financially afford that, do it. And she said, yeah, but it's not like a BHAG. It's not a big, hairy, audacious goal. I was like, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. Would that make you happy? She said, yes, it totally would. And I was like, great. Then that's what you do. Do what will make you happy within reason, right? You have to pay your bills. You got to take care of your kids, all that stuff. But if you're like, if your life is allowing you to quit your job and hang out with your kids and take care of them, great. And this is one reason why She's Gold is more than goal setting, right? Because women need to be able to have that space to step out of the day to day and really look kind of honestly at where they are, like bird's eye view. And then the coaching to help them to see what they may not be able to see on their own. Mentioned that in the last episode, right? Some things are right in front of us or beside us, and we have our blinders on, or we're just not noticing it. And then having other women around them who understand, yeah, ambition. Yeah, I want to be successful, but also the pressure that comes with both. Because as you move into that next level of success, six figures, multiple six figures, seven figures, you're probably now have a team or have some staff, you have more expenses, and or maybe you buy that bigger house, now you have the pressures of more expenses. And so the pressure can come with that to either stay up there or with everything else that comes with it. We don't want that for you. So the goal isn't just simply to accomplish more. That's what the program can do. Doors are open, by the way. But it's a speed course or a race course to reach your goals because it's so focused and with a streamlined plan and that mastermind accountability help, right? But I want for you to be able to create success that also feels satisfying. So there, I added it in last time. I'm going to mention that. So maybe you aren't behind after all. Maybe you aren't. Maybe you've simply become so focused on what's next and what's the next goal and what's the next achievement and where do I, like, what is next in line for my success that you've just stopped noticing how far you've come. Again, listen to the one on the motivation mountain because so many times we get to the top of the mountain, we don't look back, we don't see, and we have to do that. That's why I do the previously called Dynamic Year, but the Breakthrough Program, because we have that ability to look back and pull all the golden nuggets from that. And maybe your next step isn't another goal. It's just to make the plan that goes with the goal and the accountability and the support. So having that space, that support to decide what you genuinely want next. So kind of last thing I'll leave you with is success and feeling enough, success and satisfaction rarely arrive together. The gap is worth looking at though, not outrunning it and not feeling the pressure to do even more. So again, She's Gold Coaching Mastermind doors are open right now. They close September 4th, 11:59 p.m. Pacific. Would love to have you on board. Apply. Go to the landing page that's in the show notes and apply. We do an application base just because there's very small groups. And this allows me to make sure there's a right mix of people in it and that is the right fit for you. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me, Diane@DianeRolston.com. And until next time, stay dynamic. Bye.